스튜디오 라이브 ASL에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
What's up, everybody? We're here doing match 4 of the ASL here in the round of 8. Now, in case you're wondering, wait a minute, what has happened to Bisu Sulky? That still hasn't been played yet, so we can't obviously do the recording for it. But we'll be closing out the PVT tonight with JyJ versus Bisu, and then hopefully next week the match for Rain Sulky is played, and we can get that recorded as well.
Yeah, we'll get that as quickly as possible. Hopefully they make full recoveries very, very quickly on that terrible coronavirus. But regardless, this is going to be a great match here tonight. Bisu and JyJ both looking absolutely immaculate in these previous rounds. I think it's pretty hard to predict who is going to go up to fight Light. But when you look at this round of 4, Tastosis, this is looking so strong. Soma and Light are so on top of their games this season. They both look completely deadly.
Yeah, and of course, Rain Sulky, that's going to be an interesting match no matter how you cut it. With whoever goes up against Soma. And then the winner of this match facing off against Light, that's super cool too. And I'm not sure who's going to take this. I mean, JyJ has looked very good, but Bisu honestly looks like his old self, but a little bit more strong and a little bit more modern. It's been really cool to see him this season so far.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see what he's going to be pulling out here against JyJ. I did watch some of his practice games leading up to this match. I know he's taking it seriously. Let's wait for it.
그동안의 벽 역전이 16강의 벽을 허물고 16강의 주인공으로 자리매김한 정영재.
조금 더 실력이 상승하는 모습을 보여주고 있기 때문에 정영재 선수의 진출도 기대가 됩니다.
JyJ 날카로운 견제 완벽한 병력 조합으로 정영재 전승으로 8강 진출.
JyJ 정영재 테란.
지금 병력도 없어요. 마지막 공격. 최대한 항전을 해봤지만 패기에 무너지고 말았습니다. 어느 상대든 제압할 수 있다는 위력적인 모습을 보여줬습니다.
김태경 세게 박는데요. 죽음의 종 마지막 8강 진출자는 김태경.
비수 김태경 프로토스. ASL 시즌 13 8강.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫식스와 함께하는 ASL 시즌13 8강 세 번째 경기로 인사드립니다. 안녕하세요. 이현경입니다. 어제 펼쳐졌던 8강 경기 정말 한시도 눈을 뗄 수 없는 경기들의 향연이었죠. 결국에 이재호 선수가 김성대 선수를 상대로 3대1로 승리를 거두고 4강에 올라섰는데요. 오늘은 이 이재호 선수의 4강 상대가 결정되는 매치업이 여러분들 기다리고 있습니다. 정영재 선수와 김태경 선수 지금 바로 함께 하시죠. 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요.
네, 먼저 정영재 선수, 아마 이번 시즌 가장 많은 기대를 받고 있는 테란 선수 중 한 분이 아닐까 싶습니다. 현재까지 이번 시즌 기세가 워낙 좋기 때문에 그 목표인 시드 확보를 위한 딱 한 단계 8강 경기 김태경 선수의 매치업이 성사됐을 때는 좀 어떠셨는지 듣고 싶은데요.
솔직한 심정으로는 김명훈 선수가 올라가길 바랐는데 김태경 선수가 올라와서 별로 그렇게 반갑진 않았어요.
김명훈 선수에게 좀 되갚아주고 싶은 게 있었는데 김태경 선수를 만나서 반갑지는 않았다라는 이야기를 정영재 선수가 해주셨습니다. 김태경 선수는 정영재 선수를 만났을 때 좀 기분이 어떠셨을지 궁금해요. 분명히 좀 되갚아줄 게 있는 선수잖아요.
네, 저도 좀 대회 때 테란전이 잘 안 되더라고요. 그래서 좀 영재보다는 성대 만나고 싶었는데 좀 그래도 이겨야 될 상대고 저번에 제가 영재한테 떨어졌거든요. 그래서 좀 복수해야 될 게 있는 것 같아요.
시즌 10 때 이 24강 패배의 아픔을 아직은 기억하고 있는 김태경 선수입니다. 정영재 선수 지금 현재 이번 시즌 전승으로 올라오셨잖아요.
네.
그렇기 때문에 오늘도 좀 3대0 셧아웃 승리를 많은 분들이 기대하고 계실 것 같고 본인도 역시 좀 기대하고 있지 않나요?
저는 전혀 기대 안 하고요. 그냥 올라가기만 했으면 좋겠습니다.
연승은 끊어져도 상관없다. 4강 진출이 우선이다.
네.
아, 알겠습니다. 이 김태경 선수는 오늘 승리를 거두고 4강에 오르신다면 2017년 11월에 있었던 시즌4 이후에 5년 만에 4강 진출입니다.
네.
정말 너무나 갈망을 하고 계실 것 같은데 좀 어떤 준비를 해 오셨을지도 궁금해요.
저도 4강에 올라간다는 게 좀 생각을 해본 적이 없어가지고 올라가면 좀 기분이 묘할 것 같고 일단은 제가 8강에서 올라가더라도 좀 경기력이 좋았으면 좋겠어요. 왜냐면 너무 경기력이 안 좋았어가지고 만약에 올라간다 한들 경기력이 안 좋으면 또 제우한테 질 것 같아가지고 오늘 좀 제가 지더라도 좀 좋은 경기력 펼치는 게 우선인 것 같아요.
굉장히 좀 손을 오랫동안 푸시는 것 같은데 좀 감도나 이런 것들은 오늘 괜찮은 편인가요?
저번엔 16강 할 때는 안 좋았는데 오늘은 괜찮더라고요. 세팅을 좀 알려준 시청자분이 계셔가지고 그거대로 하니까 좀 잘 풀리더라고요.
일단 컨디션은 최상의 김태경 선수인데요. 일단 오늘 두 선수의 경기 오전 3선승제 다전제로 펼쳐집니다. 온라인상에서 펼쳐진 상대 전적은 이 두 선수가 2대1로 굉장히 팽팽한 상황이기 때문에 접전을 예상하고 계시는 분들도 많은데요. 정영재 선수는 오늘 몇 대 몇의 스코어를 좀 예상하고 계실까요?
첫 경기 이기면 3대 0으로 이길 것 같고요. 첫 경기 지면은 그냥 질 것 같아요.
알레그로에서 그럼 필살의 좀 전략을 준비해 오셨을 것 같은데 맞나요?
그건 지금 말하면
1세트가 가장 중요하다라고 대답한 정영재 선수입니다. 3대0 승리도 가능할 것 같다라고 내다보고 계시는데 상대가 김태경 선수는 오늘 세트 스코어 몇 대 몇을 예상하고 계실까요?
저도 옛날에는 그래도 다전제를 경험을 많이 했거든요. 그때 1경기 중요성을 많이 알아서 저 역시 마찬가지로 1경기가 이기면 뭐 그냥 이길 것 같고 지면 좀 힘들지 않을까 그런 생각이 듭니다.
첫 세트에 모든 걸 쏟아볼 준비가 되어 있는 두 선수이신 것 같습니다. 끝으로 각오를 한 말씀씩 청해 들어보겠습니다. 정영재 선수.
일단 오늘만 넘기면 목표가 도달하는데 최선을 다하도록 하겠습니다.
네, 김태경 선수.
영재의 기세가 너무 좋은 것 같아요 요새. 그래서 오늘 그 기세를 넘고 한번 열심히 해보겠습니다.
전훈이 감도는 두 선수와의 인터뷰였는데요. 오늘 멋진 경기 기대하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
자, 이렇게 정영재 선수와 김태경 선수와 이야기 나눠봤습니다. 과연 오늘 어떤 선수가 승리를 거두고 4강에 올라선 이재호 선수를 만나게 될지 두 선수의 경기 지금부터 함께 하시죠.
All right, guys, we're going to be going into this best of 5 pretty quickly here. We're going to start this out on Allegro, then Eclipse, Monopoly, Revolver, and Metaverse. I really hope we get 5 games here, man. I think this is going to be a really fun PvT. It's kind of hard for me to imagine what a JyJ Bisu matchup looks like. I don't think we've seen a lot of these two players against each other in the past as much, and I think their playstyles should make for a really fun series.
Yeah. I could definitely see it going either way. I actually kind of feel in my gut that JyJ might have like a slight edge here. And actually, when looking at the map lineup, it's like perfect for this matchup, honestly. Going like Allegro, then Eclipse, then Monopoly, then Revolver. It's obvious who's picking which map there. And so it's like this could be a very back and forth series right down to that 5th game on Metaverse.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. One of the questions I'm asking myself as well is, what kind of PvT is Bisu going to bring here? I mean, any PvT you can expect to have, some cheese, some gas steal, maybe a proxy gate, stuff like that. But, is it going to be the kind of style that we've seen Bisu do in the past, where he's really powering up with Arbiters and making it work and doing more of a control game? Is Bisu going to maybe have some carrier games? I know that's been trendy off and on in the last couple of years, especially carrier rushes. Will Bisu maybe do something more modern, like lots of shuttles, maybe double robo, something crazy like that, or go into that, speed shuttle Reaver, then into maybe speed shuttle with Storm and try to take fights like that? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that Bisu could play. And although Bisu, I think, is most known for his PvZ, he has had an insanely impactful PvT history and has had a lot of different approaches that have really changed the matchup in general.
Yeah, well, he's definitely going to have to bring that to bear tonight because JyJ is so on the, And no, that's not the way to say it. Like, on the up and up is like when you're a good guy, right? Like, well, he's that too. He's
It's not even
too.
that, Tastosis. It means like you've been improving, but you're not as important yet.
Okay, well, I mean, it's all these things, Tasteless. He's everything that I just said there and didn't mean to see there, and also
didn't mean
more.
to say
all
there,
right?
Tastosis. What's happening
Dude, I
to you?
can't even speak.
Oh, no.
I can't even. I'm just word salad coming out of my mouth.
Oh,
but
my
look,
God.
JyJ is the fastest improving Terran probably there is right now.
Okay.
And he's on the brink of being
Bisu,
right there, right? Like, we think about Rush and Light, but JyJ is right below them right now, along with Royal, as, like, the next guy.
Dude, look at these stats. That's pretty crazy how consistent Bisu is all around. Basically 60% wins in all the matchups, with PVZ being just slightly higher. It's 62.2. And it's always important to remind people, you know, anything past 55 is actually pretty crazy for pro games. So to have 60% all around is just astounding, especially when you consider how many ASLs we've had where Flash has been in this.
Oh, absolutely. That's incredibly impressive. I guarantee you he's got one of the best win rates in ASL. There's just not a question about it. And, I mean, he could end up winning the season. Who knows, man? He's been playing phenomenally. But this is a tough road for him, right? Like, he's got to beat JyJ, then he's got to beat Light, who's already waiting in that round of 4 for the winner here.
Yeah. I mean, if Bisu's going to play well here, man, he's going to have to PVT his way into the finals. I mean, we'll see who awaits him on the other side. Of course, that is if he can first beat JyJ and then actually beat Light. But this is going to be a tough one. And I'll tell you what, this is a really big challenge for JyJ. JyJ is not from, you know, the ancient eras of Brood War, right? He's not super old school, but he's not even like, you know, I guess as you were saying, Tastosis, he's been steadily on the rise here. And so to take down a legend like Bisu would be huge, but it's going to be tough, man, because Bisu's hungry and he wants this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this would be an amazing pickup for Bisu if he's able to take down the ASL here. We're going to open up with set number 1 on Allegro.
ASL
Going to be a
Season
great game. Let's get into it.
완료.
As it bleeds into me that it's seeking for you. Tell them the story, tell them the truth. As it bleeds into me that it's seeking.
알레그로에서 게임을 시작합니다.
All right, in the bottom right, we have JyJ. And in the top left, we have Bisu. I am very excited to see what styles these guys are going to use, because, yeah, TVP is somewhat wide open right now. There's a lot of openers for Protoss, and there's a lot of different mid-game choices for Terran. You know, there's only really 2 openers for Terran, but there's a lot of mid-game choices that can be made. A lot of different stylistic things you can do after your expansion.
Fast Nexus has been popular. You don't have to go for it, of course, but, you know, I'm wondering, you know, with somebody like Bisu, is this going to be something that he's interested in doing? And he sent a probe out, and it looks like he's going to be going for a build that we've actually seen him historically do quite a lot. If I've got to read on this correctly, it's going to be just a gateway on the low ground into, you know, Dragoon Tech with the Zealot Pressure. And it is a very old build that is still applicable in the modern era.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a strong build to get those Zealots out there right away. It can mess up a lot of things. By the way, look at this PVT top 3 in ASL. Bisu's win rate is actually better than Snow's.
No kidding.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Oh,
I would not have guessed that.
That's wild, man. Okay, wow, this is actually kind of crazy. I had no idea.
Well, that's what happens is you don't even think about him for that matchup, but he's the best Protoss ever to have lived, so of course, Tasteless, what fools we were.
Yeah, how
Could be any
foolish
other
of us
way.
indeed to be like, well, who knows? I mean, JyJ.
That's like assuming that Flash doesn't have the highest win rate in some matchup. It's like, no, man, of course he does. Like, these guys are just better.
So this is going to be Pylon Gate Pylon. And, he'll be able to get about 2 Zealots. Well, and there's a possibility of a Nexus, but it looks like instead it is going to be the gas. So it is going to be what I was talking about initially, which is basically you're going to have some Zealots. And this does interfere with anything that is going to be a bit greedy from Terran. So, Bisu playing this so that you couldn't go CC first. Even if you were to make a barracks and a depot on the low ground, this could be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I think that's one of the nice things about that forward gateway is that it will pose a little bit of a threat to something like a gasless expansion. But JyJ sending his scout over right now to that top left. He's going to figure out exactly what's going on. This isn't going to be a problem for him to block the Zealot at all. I think his SCV may have just caught a glimpse of it anyways, but I mean, as soon as you see that gateway,
right,
you know that a Zealot is going to be at your base in a second.
We'll see if a second Zealot is made or not. If you see, that's a great play there by JyJ to kind of, turn this build on its head. If there is a second Zealot, it's going to have to come back here and try to fight, the SCV making the eBay. The idea is that you have the ability to pressure, but then you also, at the same time, have the comfort of a wall-in back at home. Now, even though you have some aggressive opportunities as the Protoss, and by the way, this isn't going to do much of anything. No second Zealot made, by the way. He is going to have... you do need to be a little bit careful of counter-aggression with this. I mean, it is a gateway that's part of the wall. But yeah, you at least have that wall in there, so you can kind of use that as defense.
Yeah, now the eBay does get canceled. This Dragoon is just going to go up into the main base to try to hunt down the SCV, and of course the Vulture coming out here for JyJ. Scouting around just to make sure there's no proxies or anything, and of course we'll double check on that Nexus if it can.
And so the Nexus has been started up, and I don't think anybody's really ahead or behind here. I think we're kind of just getting this game, to the point where things are going to start to really go in certain directions here. And it's a very, very immediate armory here for JyJ.
Yeah, that is very, very fast. So he's definitely going towards upgrade Terran here. That's exciting to see. And I think he's getting mines as well. Honestly, as far as the openings go, I do like the position for JyJ by just a little tiny bit. Just because Bisu, having to deal with that eBay is a little bit slow getting across the map. So, for instance, this is a super late bunker. He's got 2 Vultures on the map. The 3 Marines are coming back. He may have to, bring the Vultures back to help fight this as well. But look at that, right? He's going to pretty much catch this Dragoon. It might end up getting away. But, he tries for the body block, but actually misses and then does pull away because you'd prefer to have those mines. Yeah,
it's funny. Body blocking with Vultures is actually not as easy as I think someone might think it is going to be.
Yeah, it's really not. They're a very weird size and shape.
They're the only unit in StarCraft that's always playing on a Mario ice level. I don't know how else to describe it. They're sliding all over the place, so it's something that's hard to make them make very sharp turns in front of stuff.
How much IQ is Bisu to stop his Dragoon right there? Did you see that? He did not see that mine go down, I'm fairly certain.
Well, he probably just knows.
He stopped right before it. He's like, nah, I know where he laid it. And he actually nailed it, because if he took, another step in that direction, the Dragoon dies.
Can I point out something kind of funny? And this is a little tick that kind of shows what generation Bisu's from, is he does the pylon ring at the bottom.
Of the base? Yeah, you're right.
Because
a
lot of modern play is it looks a little bit like a StarCraft 2 setup in the base, where they kind of have all the buildings walled off the main. Because, Vulture drops are pretty common. And he may still do that, but usually players will try to do that more quickly, since there are openings where you could go right into dropship, especially with mines. And if they drop into your base, even if you have Dragoons, you can lose a lot of probes. But he defaults into making the 2 pylons at the edge to spot for drops, which it's not bad, but it's just kind of an older way of playing.
Yeah. You're certainly right. And you can, and in fact, even looking at his wall, you see that pylon he made behind the gate?
Yeah.
That's a very Bisu placement as well, actually. This is one of the beautiful things about Brood War, right? Is you can see people's personality, how they learn to play, what era they're from small things like this, like how you place buildings. Like, people have these patterns.
Yeah, and he is going to continue to wall in, in his main here as well. But I guess he wants to have the spotter pylons out there, and also just to hide the support bay. There's a couple ways to do it. You can make the support bay for the Robo, basically Reaver tech. You can make that at your entrance. That used to be the way some people would play, is like, I don't care if they know I'm going Reaver, but clearly Bisu wants to hide it as much as he can. But now that the vultures go under the shuttle, he knows what's up.
Yeah, coming across the map. He's going to have those turrets up in time as well, I think, or just very, very close. Already has a few turrets out. Probably will pop out a Goliath as well as that kind of mobile turret. And in fact, Bisu turns around. He doesn't even go all the way because, you're not getting in there.
And it's going to be, tempo-wise, a pretty normal game here. Oh, wait, hold on a second. 2 gates, Reaver Tech, then Templar, then Forge. So this is actually going to be a rush into Arbiters.
I think it's going to be Storm drops, actually. I think he's going to go Heavy Storm.
Oh, I guess
with shuttles.
I think you might be right, Artosis. I think my initial analysis could be wrong. I was expecting when they went to the main for there to be a Stargate. But, yeah, you could be onto something here. I mean, he basically can't get in there with the Reaver, but he's got everything kind of protected here. And, yeah, maybe he just wants to tech into Storm.
Yeah, generally, right now, like the current trends, if you see a Reaver, you're almost always going to see Shuttle Speed and High Templars next. It's just, it is such a beautiful transition, right? Like, it fits perfectly with it, and it's really the best mid-game composition. It's much better than Arbiters early on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if the Terran's going to sit on 2 bases for a long time. I mean, just having the Storms to blanket that, you could pretty much win games just off a few good Storms. Uh-oh, JyJ comes into the natural now.
Yeah, very nice. Look at that. Bisu actually glitched a probe over the patch to try to block the vultures, but missed it just barely. Beautiful micro, really on both sides. And the vulture harassment gonna get a lot done. That was fantastic.
Yeah, very nicely done. Getting a lot with just a little here. Dropship's gonna be ready, and he's gonna jettison that up towards the main. It looks like Bisu's main wall-in should be complete, so he would have to basically drop this literally like inside of the wall-in, and if he does get the drop in there, Dragoons can't get back there to help.
Yeah, that would be highly annoying, actually. I was surprised that he did a complete wall at that third base, and JyJ looks poised to be able to possibly punish that a little bit. Honestly, if he gets any more probe damage done, this is going to start to look like it really favors him.
Yeah, well, if he doesn't have a cannon done by the time that dropship gets in there, this is going to be a big problem. It's important if you do wall in your main like this that you do actually have a cannon there, because otherwise it's like they just use this against you. So you see he starts the cannon there, but I don't know if he has enough time. And you know what? This is also completely acceptable to just drop some vultures back here.
Oh, absolutely. Like, this is an amazing location. Now he drops a couple in the main base. If he targets these really heavily, he's going to do fantastic. But we do have a speed shuttle going in towards the natural now. A couple turrets there, but not enough to stop it. Psystorm's going to come out, and actually he kind of whiffed those. They were right above the mining SCVs.
Yeah, it's like he stormed the square where there wasn't anything in.
Yes.
It's like...
It was almost more impressive in a way because it's so hard to miss SCVs there, but that was not a good storm drop. It could have been kind of devastating, but at the end of the day, JyJ has done way more economic damage. And when you're even on supplies at 110, that's a Terran lead.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Well, if the storm drops aren't doing that much, especially, to be frank, the first one is by far the most important, because that's really where you're going to take out a huge chunk of SCVs, especially when they're still on 2 bases like this game right now, because you might be able to get about a third of their SCVs if you do that right. And, you know, this is kind of a new way to play, and I don't feel like Bisu's very good at it, to be totally honest. This is the very modern way to play. And, you know, ultimately, when you're in especially a tournament setting, you really need to do what's going to work for you, because you do need to get a win, right? It's not about, well, this is the proper way to play, or this is the... But you know, I just look at this and I think, gosh, man, is this really, you know, is this going to work for you? I think Bisu can still recover, but when you see shuttles lost like this and storms spent and they're not going to connect, it just seems like the Terran should get further and further ahead, you know?
Yeah, like right now, this position looks very good for JyJ, and in fact, I think he needs to mess up a little bit for Bisu to have a real chance in this game. Another Storm Drop comes off, and again, it was dodged really well. The Storm's not really hitting the SCV retreat path. And so now we've had 3 Storm Drops, which altogether killed like 4 SCVs. So that's a big investment that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And we have even supplies at 140, Tastosis. That when Terran is at a 140, an even game, you can consider it an even game if Protoss is about maxed out.
Yeah, I mean,
so
the amount
you
of
can see
Templars,
that big difference.
The amount of Templars spent here is basically an Arbiter, by the way. I mean, to give you guys some idea. It's an Arbiter, but even more as far as price goes, because it was shuttles and everything else that was killed off here. And, you know, honestly, JyJ is really having a smooth game. I feel like this is one of the roughest games I've really seen from Bisu, to be completely honest.
Yeah, this is, it's certainly not going well for him. These Vulture drops have been amazing. The defense of JyJ, the missed storms of Bisu. But, you know, he's still got supply to play with, so we can't, it's not like over or anything. There's like a lot that has to happen still for this game to end. But JyJ, from the Terran perspective, is certainly happy.
No, I mean, everything's going according to plan. I mean, you know your push is going to be better than it would normally be because of all the failures on the Protoss' half. Protoss doesn't have another main yet, which isn't the end of the world, but it does mean if the Terran can push up to the natural, to the entry point of the second base, basically, for Bisu and contain it, he can then just fracture off small groups of tanks and vultures and kill off the other bases, and it's probably GG from that point on.
Now another Storm Drop coming in here, flies over 3 turrets, and okay, there you go. Now that's a good Storm Drop. Does kill a decent amount of the SCVs there at the 3rd, but that's the first time we've really seen economic damage dealt to JyJ other than just a couple workers. So he needs more than that, but at least he gets one off.
Yeah, he does do it, but you know, what's really always more important in StarCraft is that you do worker kills earlier instead of later, right? I mean, at this point in time, Terran is pretty much done making the army. They're going to have a few more rounds out of the factory, and then they're going to be ready to fight. Whereas the first 2 Storm Drops were so important because, really, honestly, you need to get those, you know, the damage in there so that the Terran can have a strong army later on. So I don't know. I'm still feeling like this is a pretty good position for JyJ. Keep in mind, JyJ's got a 4th base down here at the bottom spot. It's kind of hard for Protoss to run into that, by the way. And since there is an Arbiter tech here, you can't
you can't really attack in. You can do like Storm Drops. It's very small, so like wherever you drop your High Templar, you can hit SCVs. So that might be the route he chooses, but look at that defense in front of the 3rd.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot attack in there. I see Bisu moving his army here, but that is a death trap.
Yeah, 4 shuttles ready to go the moment that they sense the Terran is going to be out of position. Bisu's got his 5th base up. We have mines at both of the mains. And, oh, wow, is Bisu just going to go for this? I'm always amazed when Protosses can make attacks like this work. Let's see what happens.
Well, he's got 4 speed shuttles in here. Starting to drop them out. Drops a Reaver in the back. Some Psy Storms going off. Now, this is an extremely deep tank line. Other units coming over from that 3rd base area. Bisu's army still up and attacking, but it's down to mostly Dragoons. So he is going to pull back a few units going up towards that 4th base, but ooh, JyJ kind of lures them out there, and he will be able to clean this up without taking too much damage.
Yeah, I'd say overall, actually, a pretty good fight for both sides. Even though Protoss let off a bunch of units, the idea is that you're going to kill off a lot of those tanks and then run back out and basically dump all your minerals and gas back into your gateways, crank out more, Dragoons, Templars, Zealots, and try to set up for another fight like that again. Whoa, did you see that, Artosis? There were no probes in the main for Bisu.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Look at the mini-map.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's like almost 0 probes mining. So Not exactly sure what that's all about. Maybe you over-transferred. Obviously, he's lost a lot of probes this game as well. But taking that into light, that means, you know, he doesn't really have that big of an income. I really want to see Bisu get another base and hopefully a main.
Yeah, well, if he doesn't, I think Terran just wins, because Terran will eventually get the 5th base over at 3 o'clock. And if you've got 3 o'clock, I mean, there's really not an easy way for Terran to go head-to-head, especially if you're going to go for just Gateway Man, kind of like what this is. I mean, you've got Storms and everything else, but, like, Terran on 5 bases, infinitely better than Protoss on 5 base, the longer the game goes on. Like,
yeah, we'll see when JyJ can take that 5th base. You think he's going to take 3 o'clock, or is he going to keep expanding to the left?
I think that 3 o'clock is fine. I mean, you can keep expanding to the left, but I think it's going to be easier for Protoss to take the top right. I think Terran wants to play from the Protoss's perspective. Terran wants to play a very tight game from here on out, because Protoss does not have the real estate you need to really bully the Terran later on, which means as long as you're fighting head-to-head, I think even with Storms, again, 5 bases economically, Protoss is so far inferior to the Terran. Terran's on 4, that means Terran's in very good shape, but if you can kind of just drag this one out and quietly take the 5th and then just keep probes off of the bottom left and top right main, you're going to be okay, man.
Yeah, and it's looking better and better. Like, these mines starting to connect, getting some value there for JyJ. He does have that 5th command center ready. It is over near that 3 o'clock base that you predicted, so it does look like that's where he's going to be headed to. And Bisu charging down right now. I mean, he's maxed out, as is JyJ. But definitely the army of JyJ looks a bit better. It's got 3-2 upgrades. He's got this very solid economy behind him. Whereas Bisu, like, his bank is basically 0.
And Bisu's upgrades are actually pretty trash too, man. He only got attack, and I know armor is like, it doesn't help that much, but dude, it is something. You know, I've heard Flash talk about this, and by the way, Bisu's upgrade setup is actually the old kind of upgrade mapping you had in older PVTs, was just go into attack and spend everything else on, you know, gates and stuff like that. But, you know, Terran's going to have 3-3 to just 3-0 here for Protoss, and looks like he's going to try to come in once more, this time going to do some Storms. I don't know if these Storms are really doing that much. EMP onto the Templars, brutal.
Yeah, the Zealots all going to be cleaned up here in a matter of seconds. The Goons have to pull back, and they do start to. But at this point, you can see the supply differential. Bisu cannot refill that army that he just spent. You know, he's attacking into these entrenched positions of 3-2 mech from a Terran that he hasn't hurt at all this game. And it's just, it's like putting bad money after bad. That was not really the move he needed, and I don't think JyJ can even throw at this point. I think that this game is 100% his now.
Yeah, you know, it was Bisu, kind of a mix of old and new here, but trying to go for modern, you know, mid to late game tech here with the speed shuttles and the Templars, and you can see this really isn't his forte, man. You know, even JyJ easily outmaneuvering these Storms like it's a PVZ or something, and you know, I just don't see any late game opportunities here. He never took the other mains. I think some of these fights, I don't know, man. There we go. GG Bisu, a disappointing game for him. A huge win there for JyJ. He just needs 2 more wins, man. He's going on to the next round.
Yeah, and that was a pretty straight up macro game right there. And honestly, it felt like JyJ outplayed Bisu in every single metric. Like, his micro seemed better, his macro, strategically, he was on top of everything. His harassment was fantastic. I think Bisu needs to be a little bit more careful about that, about some of his walls and his anti-drop timing there. JyJ showing that he can completely abuse Bisu if he's having these wide open areas with no cannons protecting his probes.
Yeah, you know, a lot of that just came down to an inability to really take advantage of the Templars the way that you need to, and then to not take control of the map. So I'm curious if we're going to see Bisu try that style of play again. It didn't seem to really click with him when he went for it, and honestly, JyJ, you know, pretty straightforward game. Looks like we're going to get a quick review of that final attack. You know, it's not a great angle to try to run in. I think when you see this huge plethora of tanks in the top center here. Yeah, there's just no way this is going to work out. But I feel like this game was lost even before that attack, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely looking JyJ favored, but I think an attack like that is literally never correct.
Yeah.
Like you should try to eat their units as they attack or threaten counterattacks, but to attack into the entrenched position of a maxed 3/2 Terran never, ever, ever works.
Well, JyJ's done it once. The question now is, can he do it 2 more times? We're going to find out what happens in Game 2 on Eclipse after this short break. Stick around, guys.
이름은?
정영재.
이름의 뜻은?
길령의 저도 잘 모르겠네요. 오늘 가서 물어보겠습니다.
짜장면 대 짬뽕.
짬뽕.
산 대 바다.
바다.
과거로 가기, 미래로 가기.
과거로 가야죠.
과거로 돌아간다면?
로또?
요플레 뚜껑, 쭈쭈바 꼬다리.
쭈쭈바.
초콜릿 대 사탕.
사탕.
화이트데이 선물 준비 중이신가요?
저도 2월에 못 받았기 때문에 퉁.
제1대학이 대 10년 동안 솔로.
여자친구 안 사귀기. 아, 없다는 가정하에 하는 거죠, 이거는.
ASL 진출 횟수는?
5번?
7번.
예? 7번이 나왔다고요, 제가?
7번 연속 진출이에요.
와, 7번이나 올라왔구나. 와, 감회가 좀 새로운데요. 신기하네. 저 그런 걸 기억을 잘 못하거든요. 제가 몇 승 몇 패인지도 잘 몰라요, 저는.
8강 진출 횟수는?
8강은 네, 2번째인 거 알아요.
8강 진출의 공통점은?
다 1등이었던 것 같아요.
시즌 11, 13 승자전 진출 정답입니다. 김명훈과 ASL 내에서의 전적은?
1대5인가?
상대 전적 1대2에서 시즌 11 8강에서 지면서 1대5가 되었어요.
복수하겠습니다. 명훈이 형이 못 올라오실 것 같아가지고 못 만날 때도 있을 것 같은데요.
태태전 승률은?
그래도 5할은 되지 않은...
정확합니다.
오, 진짜요? 4할 정도 될 줄 알았는데 누구 이겼나요, 제가 혹시?
시즌 10 유영진에게 2번, 시즌 11 조기석에게 2번, 시즌 13 최우선을 잡으며 5할이 됐어요.
와, 나 태태전 나쁘지 않은데요? 다른 종족전은 5할 안 되는 것도 있잖아요.
토스전은 낮고 저그전은 50%가 넘었어요.
아, 진짜요?
저그전 연승 중이신데 몇 연승일까요?
5할 되는 것도 처음 알았는데요.
시즌 13 박상현을 시작으로 조일장, 이재동을 잡으며 4연승 중이십니다.
얼마 안 됐네요. 다른 사람은 막 10연승 하시던데 더 노력하겠습니다.
마지막으로 8강 가고는?
4강이 목표인 만큼 또 꼭꼭 올라가도록 하겠습니다.
이름은?
김태경입니다.
이름의 뜻은?
모택의 얼굴욕인데 뜻이 뭐였는지 기억이 안 나네요.
나이는?
34입니다.
아이디는?
비수입니다.
아이디의 뜻은?
비수라는 아이디가 한글이 이뻐 보여가지고 그걸 이제 영어로 쓴 거거든요. 저한테 되게 잘 어울리는 아이디인 것 같아요.
미트 초코 호프로.
호!
파인애플 피자 호프로.
브로.
과거로 가기, 미래로 가기.
잠깐만. 군대 때문에 좀 힘든데요. 미래로 넘어가기.
제1대학이 대 10년 동안 솔로.
여친 없기. 군대 다시 못 가요.
8강 선수 중 사람으로서 괜찮은 선수는?
재호?
소개시켜준다, 안 시켜준다.
잠깐만. 소개 못 시켜줄 것 같은데요?
기적의 수학가, 기적의 혁명가.
기적이 혁명가죠. 혁명가는 제가 첫 우승할 때 지어진 거라 평생 잊을 수 없는 별명인 것 같아요.
ASL 진출 횟수는?
저 한 5번 정도 올라온 것 같은데요.
진심인가요?
제가 왜냐면 군대에도 갔다 왔고 좀 많이 떨어져가지고
8번입니다.
안 믿기는데요.
8강 진출 횟수는?
8강 3번이요.
6번이에요.
예? 제가요?
대국민 때 김성현.
네.
시즌2 연보성.
기억나죠. 연보성이 하도 언급했어요.
시즌3 최우선.
기억합니다.
시즌4 박준호.
기억나요.
시즌9 박상현. 그리고 시즌14 8강 중 가장 기억나는 경기는?
최근으로 따지면 짭제. 그때 이제 2대0으로 지고 있다가 2대2에서 마지막 이제 실피디에서 973 히드라하고 이제 뚫느냐 마느냐 싸움이었거든요. 그때 졌는데 지긴 했지만 좀 재밌었고 기억에 남아요.
정영재와의 경기 중 기억나는 매치가 있을 텐데.
그렇죠. 캐리어하다가 졌는데 캐리어 컨트롤에 자신 있어가지고 캐리어 운영에 자신 있어가지고 썼는데 좀 잘 준비해야 될 것 같고 영재가 솔직히 그때 당시에 비해서는 지금은 훨씬 잘해졌다고 생각하거든요. 만만히 볼 상대는 아닌 것 같아요.
마지막으로 8강 가고는
뭔가 하늘이 내린 기회가 아닌가 생각이 들고요. 잘 준비해서 보여드리고 싶습니다.
What's up, everybody? We're back, and it's time to go to Game 2. JyJ, I think, just played way better than Bisu, man. And we can break down, some of the strategies and all that, but honestly, the execution was like 100 times better there for JyJ. So if Bisu's going to win this, he needs to play way better.
Well, yeah, we'll see if he keeps up that style, but the next map doesn't really call for it. Allegro is a very straightforward macro map, whereas Eclipse, this is a map where you get to dictate everything to the Terran player. So I think that Bisu is going to take a very forward stance here, steal the gas minimum, proxy gates possibly, fast nexus possibly. There's a lot of options here. Let's see what he does.
전투 준비 완료.
As it pleasing to me that it's seeking for you. Tell them the story, tell them the truth. As it pleasing to me that it's seeking for you.
이클립스에서 게임을 시작합니다.
All right, going into this game, we've got Bisu top right, JyJ bottom left. Is Bisu going to proxy a pylon? Is he going to go for a gas steal? We're going to see very soon.
Yeah, just keep your eyes on that mini-map, see when a probe is sent out. I got to tell you, I think right now, the best opener on this map might be the fast gas steal, followed up by a Nexus. Honestly, I think it's amazing. As you can see right now on Eclipse, in just ASL, it's 9-16 in Protoss's favor for this matchup.
Yeah, I think it's, personally, when I stream StarCraft at home, like I was doing this earlier today before we had our recording, I love the gas steal fast expand in a cannon. It's so good, it's crazy.
Yeah, I honestly think it's the strongest thing on the map right now, and it feels pretty insane as Terran, because when the probe is there, you got to make so many hard choices. Like, okay, do we make 1 Rax or 2? Do we send an SCV out to scout? You're losing a ton of money no matter what happens. So this SCV comes out immediately and sees the probe. So this is where he has to make the choice. Does he want to take his own gas? Does he continue to scout? What are we going to see here?
Yeah, and so Bisu, by the way, this will not, if it is a fast expand, it's going to be a very different looking fast expand. It is going to be a gas steal no matter what, because we saw that probe come in there. And I mean, now we've got, I would assume the moment that Bisu wants to make a gateway, but let's see, dude, he's already got 200 minerals banked up. Normally, if you're going to gas steal and then fast expand, the pylon's at the low ground, and you kind of almost play it like it's a PvZ, where you get a forge there. But what's weird is I feel like Bisu's going to lose this game too. Just looking at the start of this, he can't make his Nexus now because his SCV's here.
Yeah, this is a very meta play from JyJ.
Well, also, I think, dude, and look, I'm no pro gamer, but I think I know a little bit. I think you're actually supposed to go gas steal Nexus 11, because that's how you get it before the eBay's out.
That would be very, very fast. I guess you'd have to cut a few probes if you wanted to do that.
Sure, yeah, that's exactly what you do.
Yeah. Well, this SCV actually got the probe kill, which is pretty big, but Bisu's going to pay it back by killing that off, I'm sure. Down goes a forward pylon here. We'll see if he actually goes for a forge or not. You've got to kind of read into this whether or not there's going to be a lot of Marines, and it looks like there's not. It's just a single barracks. So I think that you can actually just hold this by making Zealots.
Yeah, I think so. And so
Yeah,
this is
look, it's the one Marine going across, so this is like a fake pressure out of JyJ.
Yeah, and Bisu's got a very good read on this, and he's going to come down here and hit the SCV, and he's looking for more Marines that are going to come here. So, I mean, Bisu's in pretty good shape now, all things aside.
Yeah, this one Marine going to go up and meet that Zealot. We'll see if he turns around immediately. Kind of assume that he would, but he might actually run it in. I think he wants the Zealot to turn around and follow the Marine. And I like that Bisu is not doing that.
Yeah.
I actually really like that because I was just kind of thinking to myself, oh, he doesn't have that many Marines. It's actually better to sack the Marine and slow the Zealot down so that you can have enough Marines when the Zealot gets there. But the Zealot's just going straight across right now. A few probes being transferred down as we see. And I guess he does have the 3 Marines, but with the probe coming up, this math gets more Protoss favored.
Yeah, a probe and a Zealot actually are pretty deadly against 3 Marines specifically.
Yeah.
And so he's going to just break off and try to come in here as best he can. And, I mean, really good connections here. He wants that probe to target the weaker Marine. And, like, dude, I'm just going to say it, man. This could actually just get completely out of control here if he doesn't get the bunker finished. I think he's actually going to...
He's actually very close to dead already. Honestly,
Yeah.
like when you lose this many Marines, the Zealots can just rally down and like walk past, and the damage output is just so slow from a single Marine. Like, look at this. He's losing so many SCVs. He's down like 10 supply right now.
Yeah, and all he wants to do is kill SCVs. If there's a Marine he can take a fight with, he'll do it. Keep in mind that all these SCVs damaged. This may be a factor later on in the fight because they're not going to be healed this game, right? So... you know, any damage you can get onto the Terran as far as SCVs goes, is pretty good. And look at this, Artosis. He's going to go right into a Citadel. And it looks like going to DTs just kind of walking across the map.
Absolutely. That is definitely what he's going to be going for. Very quick Templar Archives as well. There is an SCV out on the map to scout. Probably going to check for a 3rd base. And the factory just starting. You know, when you get that type of damage done, any sort of additional pressure you're putting on, this way it'll be DTs, I think is very, very good. Because the DTs basically make it so that JyJ can't attack. And then also, minimum, you're basically containing them, right? Maximum, you just win the game instantly.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's a good way to play because, like, let's say that Terran was just going to try to move across the map and do an all-in. You just kill it. I mean, this used to confuse me in past ASLs when I'd see Protoss do this because I felt like it wasn't safe. But the idea is, like, okay, if they have turrets there, then you just go back. But if they don't, then you're going to really hurt them. And, I mean, the eBay's just now started. You know, we don't see a turret up there just yet. We've seen eBay started all over the place on the map, but none that can actually be finished, right? And look at this. Now, I don't know if this is a red herring or not, but he puts a starport down here. Stargate, excuse me, down here. He might have seen the blur.
Yeah, he might have, but honestly, when you see one Stargate start like that, you already know that it's... like, there's going to be a DT on the way, right? Like, that is clearly an Arbiter Stargate. So I think he will be getting his turrets up immediately that those DTs are walking across. There's no Dragoon range, so the bunker can hold as long as you repair. Going up to 4 facts instantaneously, but we need that turret. Where is the turret?
He's not respecting
He's not
the Protoss.
making the turret?
No, he's just going to die.
Yeah, I guess he did think it wasn't Arbiter. Well, that's it. That's it.
And he just comes right on top of these SCVs, just dives on there. And I mean,
yeah, no, this is
basically
really
over.
That's it, man. Yeah, you can't come back from this much damage. Like those men are invisible, straight up. You can't see it.
You don't even see the capes. I mean, that's what's crazy. But they wear capes, which is flashy, but you don't know that. I mean, all you know is you're getting killed by, you know, these Psyblades.
He's straight up fighting with the detection now. It's so funny. And he walks right past her. Oh, he actually kills him before he gets past turret, which is nice, but you can't mine from your natural. You lost all these SCVs. Like, there is just not any comeback potential from this position for Terran. This is over. You
need to get Scan. He's going to have enough DTs kind of coming out in these waves that he can basically just keep continuously denying this from landing, and Protoss just stays back and continues to produce. An Arbiter's going to be inbound here. That's not, the most important part here, but it's a problem, right? I mean, you're on one base, and you know that there's going to be a stasis inbound here if you try to move out or do anything. I mean, it's hard to explain just how behind you are because there's so many different ways that you're losing the game at this point in time, truly.
Yeah, like literally in every way. It's 88 supply to 47. So you're down 40 supply, which, listen, if you're up around 200 supply, that's okay. You can be down 40 supply and it can still be a game. Not down here. Not at 88 against 47. Like, his economy is terrible. His tech is terrible. His upgrades are basically non-existent. It's just... I mean, he doesn't even have siege mode, Tasteless. This is...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Could truly be worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal, dude. Again, it does seem like a lot of times Terrans, when they play against Fast Expand, they really don't want to play a long game, so what they do is they throw down a bunch of factories and try to take advantage of the short travel distance on Eclipse to kind of pound the Protoss, but this is a really, overall good response from Bisu on how to basically handle this, is to kind of just go straight into DTs and keep generating threats. And man, 6 Dragoons, you got to be careful. You can one-shot Vultures with this. It's extremely strong. And I love that Bisu's not overcommitting here.
Yeah, pull back. Like, he can just grind him down. There's just not, like, any opportunities for JyJ to get damaged as long as Bisu is careful with the engagements. But yeah, the game, I'm kind of thinking back to what happened in the beginning, and really, JyJ just delayed his bunker as long as possible, and that costs him. Like, everything that we see here started with those Zealots, with the Zealot in the probe coming in against 3 Marines. That was the beginning, and from there, everything was too slow for JyJ, and Bisu just is stomping him this game. Look at this, he's like twice the supply.
Yeah, I mean, he's in amazing shape. He's going to get his 4th base probably coming up here. JyJ really doesn't have the ability to take a 3rd without risking it. Now, he might risk it anyways just because he doesn't really have a lot of opportunities here. But, like, this is rough, dude. This is very hard to play from.
Yeah, I mean, Bisu is going to just choose how he wants to win this game and then go do that. The Arbiter is out. And, I mean, he's clearing some of this out. Okay, I'm wondering if is he going stasis? Is he going recall? I would imagine he's going stasis because I think the most straightforward way here is just straight up a bust, right? The one stasis bust where you get whatever you can with the stasis and attack move.
Yeah, and we don't see siege mode yet. Has he still not gotten this Tastosis?
Yeah, I think he might not have. Like, I mean, you have to skip everything when you're this damaged. See what he can do here. Some mines are getting laid down. That is a lot of units incoming, and this should be a GG coming out of JyJ any second.
Yeah, beautiful stasis. Gets those 3 tanks and the Vulture. GG. Things are tied up 1-1. Bisu making it look easy, but again, if you can control these Terrans early game, the positions they get into in a late game, it's a lot tougher.
Yeah, and that's what Eclipse is all about. Protoss really can dictate everything on that map, and as the map continues to evolve, it just gets harder and harder to stop what Protoss wants to do, and you can see that Bisu was in control of that game for a lot of it, and the thing is, I mean, the little block with the SCV going across the map was fantastic. JyJ read the situation very well, but as soon as one little mistake was made, he didn't have the bunker ready for that first Zealot and probe. Like, Bisu never let up after that. He had his foot on his throat for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, he just really kept him stuck. I mean, dude, the thing is, it's a risk. JyJ did take the risk, man, and Bisu punished it. You got to have a turret there. If not, your natural is just going to be hit, and it seems like a lot of good players really like doing that. We're going to go back now. We're looking at this replay, and we're just kind of watching the diversionary Marine get ignored by the Zealot. The Zealot and the Probe, and by the way, 3 Marines do not beat a Zealot and a Probe. 4 Marines do by a bit. 3 do not. Yeah. And so, no bunker here, and nobody's stopping him from making the bunker. Basically, JyJ is trying to play greedy on his own front. And Bisu's coming out here
Yeah.
and punishing pretty hard, man.
Yeah, this was really the moment that got Bisu into that position, like I was mentioning. And I mean, there's nothing more pro gamer than losing because you're trying to cut every single corner. And 3 Marines beats a Zealot with pro gamer micro. But like you said, the probe comes in and it actually goes pretty one-sided in the other direction.
Right.
It's kind of crazy how much one worker can do. But you see it right there, and the amount of SCVs that he lost, he was in a terrible spot. He tried to cut corners, no detection. DTs just wreck him, and tied up 1-1.
Okay,
we got to
guys.
go into set number 3 to see who's going to be leading.
Yep, someone's got to take the lead. Who's it going to be? We're going to find out after this short break.
Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters over on patreon.com/ASL English. We really appreciate you guys, and I hope that you're enjoying this season. It's been a little bit bumpy due to the coronavirus. Obviously, we're having that first match delayed quite a bit, but hopefully Rain and Sulky will both be in tip-top shape for next week, and we'll be able to get those games played.
Yeah, guys. Look, $5 goes a long way if you want to support us and the people that are editing this side of the broadcast. We really appreciate it. And we're just happy that we're still able to do this because of the support that you guys have directly given us now. So thank you guys so much. And look, man, we're tied up 1-1. This has been an interesting series. I mean, Bisu dominates in game 1, or game 2, excuse me, but Bisu dominates... what am I trying to say? Bisu dominates in game 2. JyJ dominates in game 1. I can't talk today, Tastosis.
Yeah, that's okay.
But let's see.
You caught
man.
my disease from the beginning of the cast.
I know. I have to. Whatever brain parasite stops me from being able to string sentences together. I don't know.
Yeah. So it is tied up in 2 very different games, right? The straight-up macro game, JyJ dominated, and then did make some missteps there against Bisu on Eclipse, and I mean, Bisu just did not let up from there. Honestly, I'm still feeling JyJ a little bit. Eclipse is a one-off map.
Sure.
You're not likely to have another game that looks like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to replicate, right? If you don't have a one-on-one map, you can't have a game quite like that one. Bisu did go for that gas steal and then play, you know, pretty slow play with Zealots in the Nexus. Looked pretty good. I think JyJ basically tried to be super greedy and cut a couple corners and do some diversionary tactics early on, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work at all. And you know, from there it was pretty easy for Bisu to dominate the game. But you know, if JyJ I think plays a little bit more conservatively, it does seem like he's able to hold his own against Bisu. Again, we saw Arbiter Tech in the late game of that PvT, but that's kind of because he went for the DT rush on the ground, and that just pairs nicely with Arbiter Tech later on. But, you know, Bisu was a player who dominated when Arbiters were pretty much the only way to go PvT. So I'm just curious if we're going to see a little bit more of that, if he's going to have success, or if Bisu will try this newer style that we saw here in Game 1, even though it didn't serve him well in Game 1.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot he could have cleaned up there. We're going to go into Monopoly, which is a very, very, very different map. Well, we'll talk more about that. We are ready to start. Let's get into game number 3.
I feel like this whole filming of this is just just awkward starts all around, man.
And here's the thing.
게임을
We don't need any help to be awkward, Tasteless.
We are so awkward, and apparently today we can't talk very clearly, so I don't know what's going on.
Or maybe this is just the first time we realize that we can't talk very clearly.
We find out that casting
been
StarCraft does brain damage. Sorry about that. We were the first to learn that.
All right, we have in the top left JyJ. In the bottom left, we have Bisu. It is a 3-player map. And, yeah, don't forget that, you know, that very center that you see, if you look at the mini-map, that little center area, that you see the minerals and gas in. That's an island. Like that's got raised walls. You can't go in there. So there's like these smaller laneways around the center that you can go in. But this is a type of map that we don't really see very often at the pro level. You know, there's definitely, like, counterattacks can occur, but they're not quite as fluid. You know, you can't go through the center. You have to go much further around, which gives a bit more time. And so I feel like that's kind of a nice thing for Terran. There's definitely some nice things for Protoss on the map, like that center area, very abusable by things like carriers. Possibly we can see something with speed shuttles utilizing that center expo. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but yeah, the fact that it takes longer to walk around for a counterattack, I think can only benefit Terran, really.
Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, you know, what you were saying earlier about Protoss being strong here with carriers is very true as well. I don't know if Bisu wants to go for that or not, but, you know, if there's any carrier map that's in this map pool, I feel like this really is the one. Just because, you know, suddenly the carriers become this easy counterattack play where you can both defend locations where it's hard for the Terran to hit you, and also just go ahead and hit their expansions with ease. I mean, once you control the center with carriers, any spot is very reachable. But let's let this game pan out a little bit more before we really, you know, do too much of a deep dive into that. Bisu is going to open up with the most you know, ordinary PvT opener, which is literally just gate, main, gas, cybernetics core. So we really have no idea what kind of game he's going to go for yet. And on the Terran side of things, also the most generic opener as well. It's, you know, factory and refinery. So no command center on low ground, no rushes as of yet, although a 2-factory is always possible at this phase of the game.
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised if he pulled something like that out. Those are just not that popular at the moment. Now, Factory goes up. He is making some Marines. His SimCity very, very defensive. When you see a factory placed like that above, this is like super anti-Zealot. You know, you have that micro hole right there. It's very forward near the ramp. You really want to take control against any early pressure.
We don't have Dragoon range yet. There are some openings where players will skip this. And it looks like, you know, the probe is going to come up here. Is that a Zealot that's down there, Artosis, or is that a Dragoon? What is that?
It can't be a Dragoon yet. It has to be, yeah. Because the first Dragoon should be popping out, like, right now, basically.
I think it did. I think it's
like,
just
that
up
should
north
be the
of our
Dragoon
screen.
that's actually walking north. Yeah. There it is. So, and yeah, that's like a pylon on the left side, right? So, kind of an interesting location there. Anti-drop, it looks like. Blocks the ramp here. Not going to let that SAV get a scout as to what his tech is going to be. So that's a nice block. And yeah, really nothing out of the ordinary here. Just a very standard Terran expansion, very standard Protoss expansion. And that is a very quick robotics before that range upgrade.
And this has become a bit more popular. I mean, you could go for Shuttle Reaver, but it also seems like a lot of Protoss players really like basically just getting observers out extremely fast, because you can get range later on and it's still going to finish before the attack comes. But basically you want to try to figure out what exactly is Terran up to here, you know. Terran can, of course, just take a third base or just sit on 2 bases and play it slow, but there's also a lot of aggro moves. And by the way, in this game, it is a starport being made, so a dropship's going to be inbound here, probably for a vulture drop. So I think getting the ops out pretty quickly is pretty helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And that pylon that he has on the side looks like it's in the perfect location to see an incoming drop as well. And the thing is, it's almost a little bit predictable that you could see drops here, just because the mains are really, really big, right? They're kind of like oblong. It's like a lot of areas you could drop off vultures and then run them in. Now, the one thing that makes me nervous about this build from JyJ, like the best thing that you can do against a dropship if you parry it well is to instantly go carrier.
Oh, really?
And this is a good map for carrier.
So can you explain that to me? Because I actually didn't know that. So how does that work?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so if someone goes drop, it really cuts into any sort of timing attack. It's extremely gas intensive for Terran to get out an early dropship. Also, they're producing minimum 3 vultures, but probably more. So the factories are later. The armory is generally going to be quite a bit later. And any timing pushes just come out much, much slower. And with a carrier build, you're just kind of sitting in your base anyway, so drops can't really do anything to you. So it's a very common move to see at really high levels. If as soon as the dropship goes away, you throw down Stargates.
That's interesting. Is that just 2 base play then? Or do you try to take a third, or does it really matter?
I think you just kind of play it by ear, whatever looks good at that moment. Now, drops out a couple vultures here, and these will run into the natural. I really like that little flanking move right there. We'll see if he can get more damage. The Dragoons come down the ramp here. Now, where is the drop? Is it going to go into the main? No, he's got plenty of Dragoons. And, oh, actually, a Citadel goes down right away, so definitely not going to be that carrier tech that I was mentioning. I find that interesting. Well, that's a pretty quick Citadel, though. That looks to me like it's going to be an Arbiter Rush.
Yeah, this might be 2-base Arbiter Rush, which, I mean, 2-base Arbiter is also very good against Terran, especially if the game's gotten weird, because, I mean, even though you take your 3rd and your 4th much later, you're kind of okay against anything. Like, if they get greedy at all and take a 3rd, you just kill it. Or if they try to do a really strong 2-base push, you just kill that, too.
Yeah, and you know what? You're right. That actually makes a lot of sense because JyJ specifically, like his style, oftentimes is a technical opener like this into a heavy 2-base play.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think actually this probably has to do with some studying of JyJ's games, right? Like he's played a bunch of pro games. You can figure out what he does, and that would be a great counter. Like if JyJ sits here and goes up to 4 or 5 factories, he's not really going to be able to get anything done against 2-base Arbiter.
You know, it's funny. I actually learned 2-base Arbiter from Bisu, like watching him like a long time ago. This is one of the things that I kind of would go to if I thought the game got uncomfortable. But it makes a lot of sense to see it here too, kind of post dropship. Same idea that you were talking about, Tastosis, with like the fact that like carrier's also pretty good. This also it's kind of in the same vein, right? Where it's like, well, you know, you don't have to worry too much about what they're doing. I think if it's a very good, well-balanced Terran, then you could maybe try something where it's like, all right, I'm going to take a late 3rd and I'm going to be safe and I'm going to go toe-to-toe with you. But I think this makes Terran a little bit more uncomfortable. Just you get the Arbiter out fast, therefore you get the Stasis out fast. You also get Recall, you know, soon after that. And so there's a lot you can really do with it. Oh, man, is this dropship going to get away?
Yeah, just barely going to get out of there. And it looks like Bisu going to go ahead and take his 3rd as his Arbiter is about to start. I think pretty clean play from Bisu, but the drops did a little bit. Like, he did get a little bit of vulture harassment done. Didn't lose the dropship, so that's nice. A nice high-quality scan there from JyJ. He knows exactly what's going on. He saw the probe going to the 3rd and scanned the full tech suite over there. So, completely aware of where he's at in this game.
Okay, so this dropship's going to try to loop back around here. And, I mean, there's not a whole lot of openings here. Again, remember that you can't actually physically be in the center with your ground army just walking through. I mean, you could drop stuff there or recall stuff there, but this map is basically a big, you know, metal space donut. I mean, you have to kind of run around the edges on it. And so I do feel like it's kind of tricky for Arbiter play. I could be wrong about that. I mean, you can always try to counterattack with Arbiters, but really, what Protoss want is like a lot of open area to really kind of go everywhere.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to me to be an Arbiter map. You know, this is why we were kind of talking about carriers early on. I do think it would be better for carriers, but the one thing that's really good for Arbiters here is those big oblong main bases.
Sure.
That's a beautiful thing. Like, you can't defend that main base from recalls. Like, if you want to get a recall off in there, you're going to get one. So that, I feel like that's going to be, if Bisu wins this, that's probably the end game, is him getting a few good recalls off.
Yeah, you could be right about that. I guess a really good recall setup, and then if you were to attack the third from the right side, that's also pretty good.
Yeah, a little bit more harassment going on. A few more probes go down. Finally does lose that dropship. Really, really decent harassment. Got to hand it to him. Good to see that SCV's stuck. He lifted to try to get it out. It's like such a funny looking angle.
So Terran actually got the third base up and running a few seconds before Protoss did, but this is going to be a pretty intense build-up here. You know, we don't have a fourth base yet. It looks like Bisu might be... Oh, he's going to take that now, actually, in the bottom right. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we wait and see, you know, what kind of late game with Arbiter Tech, you know, what does that look like on a map like this?
Yeah, I'm excited to see it because we haven't seen that as of yet. Now, that's 100 energy Arbiter sitting in the center. Now, that might just be where he wants to sit it so it can come out to either side for a stasis, but he also, I mean, he could be getting ready for a recall as well. You know, recall is going to take him another minute before he has that energy. I don't think a recall would be very good right now. JyJ is, like, super prepping for a recall. He is laying mines absolutely everywhere. Look at all the units he's bringing up into his main base. He's making turrets all over the place. So if Bisu screws up a recall, that is a very good way to get Terran ahead.
Yeah, and, you know, one thing you got to watch for with Arbiters is, like, yeah, they're very scary and recall is very devastating, but if they botch the recall, they really don't have options, okay? So, like, when you're going to recall the Arbiters, you better recall and make it work, because if you either lose the Arbiter or even worse, you recall into mines and lose everything, it's so bad, dude.
Yeah, it can definitely be quite punished, especially in a game like this that's very tight. And he is going for that recall, right? Here we go. There are mines in here. Flies right into about 12 turrets and mines.
Look at that. That's kind of crazy, that little recall. He just, like, goes to the side.
Okay.
It's also funny, like, to see him just pull that to the right, where I'm like, are you going to pull this off, man?
Well, the shuttle goes down there as well. The Zealots come up and take down that one siege tank. Some good mine hits in here. So at the end of the day, he actually doesn't kill very much here at all. Like, he loses his shuttle, the entire army, and the Arbiter for a few units and, like, 4 turrets.
Yeah, that was
I was
pretty
not a
bad.
fan of that recall. I was not a fan of that recall.
No, I mean, it was pretty bad. Look, I'd actually, one thing is, if the Terran plays this right against, you know, 2-base powering Arbiter, I think the trick is you actually just don't attack them. And then the Protoss is there with this army, and they don't have anywhere near as many bases, and you're like, and then you recall, and then you just lose all your stuff, and you're like, oh my god. So, you know, I think JyJ has a very good handle on what Bisu tried to do to counter him, and I think he's played like an S-class game so far.
Mm-hmm. It's looking really, really good. A lot of mines still in there. Even a tank sieged up, a vessel waiting on the edge. Because, again, like, if he wants to get recall off, he will get it off. But, you know, you're hoping to be able to erase it very quickly between mines and turrets. We'll see if that science vessel is able to hit some EMPs as well. And here we go, man. Another recall.
Now,
let's see how this one does.
Well, he should have an EMP, right?
Yeah, it's not going to hit there quickly enough, and that's a big one right there, right over all the turrets, and this one's going to do a lot better.
Yeah, this is quite a strong one. He can actually get the armory. Now, if he gets the armory, it's going to deny either +2 or +3, but +1, +2 is already done. I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like this is that great for Bisu. I feel like you kill off some stuff and, like, okay, his one upgrades later, that's pretty big, but, you know, that gets wiped out, and then Terran pulls back, and...
Yeah. I think that part of this is, well, he got the starport, he got an armory, those are both good, and he wrecked a part of that base. Now, there's going to be another recall ready in about 25 seconds, and he might just go again. Like, are you going to have... See, he was actually kind of getting ready for it there. He pulls back. Obviously, there's vessels out, so you have to be a little bit careful here. But you see immediately mines being relayed, SCVs coming down, rebuilding those turrets. Because that's the scary thing. Sometimes a recall won't do much other than clear the edge of the base. But that recall that comes in right again can be devastating.
Yeah, you know, it's of course easier said than done, but if he was able to like recall another Arbiter with the Arbiter, depending on how he stacked the Arbiters, and then get a stasis on the ramp, that's killer.
Oh, that move is, it should be illegal, honestly. It's one of the dumbest ways to lose a game, is recalling another Arbiter than stasising a unit on the ramp, especially when they run their own unit to stasis the ramp, and you're just like, okay. I can't get up there. All my buildings are dead.
Yeah, it's brutal, but, you know, you can only do that if you basically save 2 Arbiters, so... I mean, we're pretty far out from that. Terran's still on 3 bases. Now, you know, I was talking about JyJ playing a pretty S-class slow game. It might have been too slow, Artosis. His Protoss took...
I don't feel like... Did he have any chance to attack yet? Like, there were 2 recalls. If he's attacking during a recall, he's basically dead.
I don't know,
he needs to clean that up so quickly.
I feel like, you know, if at least with the first one, I think he had the opportunity to counter. I might be wrong, but now Protoss is just too big, right? I mean, it's one way or the other. I mean,
no, we're maxed out on both sides. He's got these vessels out. If he can stop Arbiter spells, like if he had an EMP on those 2 Arbiters, he maybe can go kill Bisu. There's like a real possibility there. But look at this, an Arbiter going... I saw that Arbiter like left a line to the screen from him. Okay, he turned it around. JyJ looking like he might be getting ready to take another 4th base. He definitely needs to think about that. He does have a bigger bank. He has great upgrades. Look at how many tanks. Ooh.
As far as the Protoss is concerned, like, there's not that many more bases that you can have on the map, by the way. Okay, this is crazy. I think Protoss thought about counterattacking and is not going to do it now.
Yeah, JyJ actually left a huge amount of siege tanks at his 3rd base. And this is what I was talking about, how slow it is to move around the map.
Oh.
Very hard for Bisu to decide on a counterattack location.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Terran can leave half their stuff back there, it looks like.
Well, maybe, we'll see if that pays off.
EMP.
That's a big stasis right there as well.
Okay, a scan comes down. And, you know, the Zealots, they need to get like a little bit closer to where these tanks actually are. It looks like some of them, if they can start to touch the tanks, they can. Protoss is going to win this fight. And, you know, it seems like once he started to get close, he should have pulled the rest of those tanks down there. And I'm worried now for JyJ. By the way, both these players' bank accounts are just loaded.
Yeah, JyJ still has enough supply. He has a lot of units running around. This makes me a bit nervous, though. Okay, he's sending off a group of siege tanks over here. Bisu, I think, can save this base. He needs to send a group up there relatively quickly. And JyJ has taken another, so he has 4 bases right now.
JyJ might be unable to win this now. I mean, he's going to be able to max out, you know, a few more times, but Bisu's basically gotten all the bases he needs, especially with the gateways up here. At the other starting location. I mean, he's going to be pretty comfortable. Now, there's a base at the center left and a base at the top right. I mean, the island may become a factor, and we'll get to that if we get to that. But I don't know how much more room there is for Terran to try to move around here. Keep in mind that the 2 remaining bases on the map that are not the island, of course, are opposite locations, so it would seem like Protoss could just endlessly counterattack one side or the other.
Maybe. I think it might be time. Like, it feels to me like JyJ should leave this 4th really well defended like that, cut down the depots at his 3rd, and push the right side of the map. I think the left side doesn't have value other than that mining base for Terran, whereas that right side is where Protoss is going to win.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's stasis there, but, I mean, you can't walk up that hill against that many siege tanks. Some excellent mines here as well. And he is starting to push the right side, but this is a very small army. Anytime I see a Terran attack with a group like that, all Protoss needs to do is bring their full force, and it just dies at a very poor trade for Terran.
Okay, he's going to come over here from behind and try to hit these tanks. And this is going to be cleaned up. And, you know, this is such a weird map to watch this tech with Protoss against Terran on. I do feel like there might have been some lost opportunities here by JyJ. I feel like once you get the other main as Protoss, things can become much easier. And he just kind of let Bisu do that.
Well, I think Bisu bought a lot of time with those recalls, right? Like those are messy to clean up. You got to remake your turrets. You got to relay your mines.
Well,
so
no,
I think
mean,
that was like a tactical decision from Bisu.
Well, I think that it's certainly a tactical decision, right? But the issue is how much do you actually send back to do that? Because any Terran that sends his whole army back there to stop the recall, you're just going to win the game because you've already won if they pulled their army that far back. So it really is a balancing act of having some of your stuff go back there, but then gaining a position because. Otherwise, I think Protoss is just in the position that we're in right now, right? It can't be an all or nothing. And now we're seeing this attack come up here. And, I mean, there are some problems for Protoss trying to get up these ramps. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull this off either. This is a funny map. And the farther along we get on it, it's like, gosh, it's kind of hard for anybody to hit anywhere, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely very, very awkward in a lot of ways. JyJ taking control of this base, so important. Okay, let's just count for a second, right? So that's the 5th base for JyJ. Bisu on, let's see here, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was 5, 6. Okay, so it's like 5 base against 6 right now? Am I counting this right? Yeah, 5 against 6. So that's fine for JyJ. But yeah. I think the center base, in theory, definitely goes to Bisu. You can't use dropships to counter Arbiters. That is not a thing. So I think actually dropping a probe off there would be a really good move from Bisu.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. You make a good point with the Arbiters. It's like, yeah, you can't really just like make a bunch of dropships and hit places. Even if you could, and that started to work for whatever reason, you can make shuttles and just reclaim it. But
yeah,
I'm not sure.
I mean, a single recall will clean up anything you do with dropships. So
right.
I would like to see Bisu eventually take that. Obviously, they're battling right now pretty tooth and nail, so maybe a little bit later. Ooh, an excellent EMP on these 2 High Templars. Going to insta-morph into an Archon. Arbiter's coming over with the main army of Bisu.
Mines are getting planted here. This is going to be tough for Protoss to break into. Could he recall on top of this, maybe? Oh, man, he's got to be careful. Good stasis there. Sometimes that's the best you can do is try to stasis that vessel.
Definitely worthwhile. Now, here come the Zealots and Dragoons. That is a lot of Dragoons and not a lot of Zealots. I don't think this is a good attack from Bisu, but maybe he feels like he has nothing else to do. Oh, here come the Zealots now from behind. Whoa, huge stasis on the tanks as well, and Bisu gonna run this over.
Yeah, that was pretty insane, dude. That stasis on the tanks in the center was wild.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Ooh. Great move. Great move. And now Bisu, like, killing that army, so important. JyJ, he's still got good mining, still has fantastic upgrades. He has to hold on to this base, though. He cannot be losing this location.
Oh, looks like that shuttle was actually empty. How funny. I'll tell you, man, putting a barracks out here really works out very well sometimes. You can draw those Dragoon shots away. He's going to come in here and just clean up whatever's left over of these tanks and Golies.
Did you call them Golies?
I call them Golies. I'm sorry. In my head for a second, I was imagining you calling them Gulls, and I'm like, that's so dumb, Artosis. Why would you say that? And then I said Golies.
Golies. Oh, my God. All right, another push coming down. This one's very, very small from JyJ. Kind of wish he would build up a bit more supply, because this flank coming in is not one this group army should be able to stop.
You're totally right, man. I mean, you need to have a certain bulk. Maybe he can reinforce this barely, but this is getting a little bit scary here, because if Protoss fights back and smashes this position, and let's remember, there's more stuff coming out of gates than there is stuff coming out of factories right now. And some of those gates are just to the right of the screenshot. So he's going to fight back, and then the stasis units are killed off. The Terran's position is softened. And you know what? As this game gets further and further along, I'm starting to think that this top right main is actually the most important base for Terran. Because...
Oh, you mean like the top right expansion that JyJ has?
That's what I meant, excuse me. The top right base up there, because that's actually kind of far away from even this middle base that he has. And if he can actually effectively fight back like this, whether it's a recall or a push right up there, he could just knock the Terran off of there and still basically mine from the center left at the same time. But we don't know yet. I mean, if Terran pushes in here and wipes out the center right main position and the bases below it, that's insane, and I think Bisu loses.
Yeah. But it doesn't feel like he's quite there to knocking it out. And if we take a look at what's left mining, JyJ is mining from 2 bases right now. Bisu from now 4. One of them very undefended, that base on the very left side. It might make sense to shift over and hit that base now, because like these bases over here, I want to see the actual mineral counts, because eventually you look at the minerals and you'll, okay, no, actually that's super rich still, so definitely good to still attack here.
Okay, he's got a good mine position now. If you can get enough mines set up where you can make it hard for the gates that are at the starting location for Protoss to hit you, and then you have enough siege tanks over there that you can hit the other spots that are going to be coming from the center right main. I mean, maybe he pulls this off, but I mean, this is really what this game's coming to. And dude, I think Terran is just going to float a CC, low-key float that CC right into the middle of the map.
You're right. Oh my god, I love it. Or I mean, it could be a different building as well,
could
just
be.
to like take the location. I hope it's a CC.
Yeah,
that
too.
would be super cool. I actually really want to see it now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he sees there's nothing there, and let's say it's a science facility or an eBay or something, he could just float a command center there later. I mean, but nobody's opted to take this middle base just yet. Uh-oh, here we go, Artie. Big recall.
Oh, those are some great mines, but the Protoss army doesn't care too much. These Zealots going to end up clearing some of these tanks. Of course, JyJ will not lose this base. In fact, he's not going to even lose that many SCVs.
Yeah, you know, Terran keeps the base and keeps the push, and I think this could be a JyJ game, man.
Yeah, it's starting to look that way.
And, you know, he's going to take out all... I mean, maybe he doesn't get the main. We'll see about that, but it's definitely a possibility. But either way, the base below that is being hit, this one right here. And the base in the center left, that's going to be the only thing Protoss has if Terran succeeds in the push up here. I think JyJ can take this, dude.
Yeah, it does look that way. JyJ taking out these 2 bases is so important. Honestly, even if he doesn't kill the main, I think he's like bringing this game home at this point. Like, he's got enough in comparison to Bisu, but continuing to push there. Bisu trying to hit a counterattack here on that 4th base, but I don't think that's breakable.
I don't think so, man. It's hard to get stuff up ramps. If it's not Zealots, getting Dragoons there is tough. And look, Bisu's supply is garbage, man. This game, I think, is basically over. JyJ did it. GG. Bisu is down 1-2, excuse me. JyJ takes the lead, and it looks like he might be going on to the next round, man. Bisu did not have it in that last game.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting game because, you know, it opened with those drops and then a very quick Arbiter rush with a couple of recalls that didn't do a lot but did buy Bisu time to get that other main base, and then just a lot of very aggressive trades back and forth.
Yeah.
I thought that JyJ was actually overextending a little bit into Bisu, but it ended up working out for him.
Yeah, you know, JyJ just got enough of the map, and, you know, Arbiter Tech, once Terran has too much, especially when I'm talking about turrets and mines everywhere, and the Terran's 3-3, the recalls are not that good anymore. They don't, you know, it's like they have a very specific role, but I think you take that much of the map, and you don't really have any recourse, man. It's tough. We're going to take a quick shot. This is one of the many battles in this game, but it looks like this was the one where Bisu thought he might be able to defend this, and he really couldn't.
Oh no! This is the one with the sick.
Oh no! I'm
stasis
sorry.
On those tanks. Yeah. So he first got the Vessel and Goliaths here, which is always a reasonable stasis. Starts to attack him, left the Zealots behind, so he clears the mines here with Goons and just a few Zealots before the rest of them come in, and then hits that beautiful stasis in the center. 5 siege tanks out of commission, shifts the battle very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, had those tanks been in there, I think Protoss still wins, but it would have been a much closer fight.
Yeah, it would have traded much better for Terran than what we saw right there. So definitely a great and very important stasis. But did Bisu over push after that?
That may be the issue. I think that, it's funny. When you get this late in the game, dude, you can get all the tech. Maybe this is really the moment you want to go for storm drops with speed shuttles. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no, I kind of see what you're saying. You have all your SCVs really stacked up at like 2 bases at this point. Possibly.
Yeah, it just seems like you're not going to force fight with Arbiter and beat 3-3. 3-3 is just way too good.
Yeah, it's into entrenched positions. You don't have much of a shot.
So JyJ takes that one. He just needs one more. Is Bisu going to come back, or is JyJ going to close us out? We're going to go to a short break, and when we return, the best of 5 continues on here with JyJ and Bisu. Right now, JyJ up with a 2-1 lead. I thought I had that timed out, Artosis. I thought the graphic would show up, but I know that commercial is coming, guys. There it is. We'll be right back.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 뭐야?
새로운 날을 만든다.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어너더 레벨 핫6.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 뭐야? 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어너더 레벨 핫6.
아침은 라떼, 홀리 점심은 라떼, 홀리 저녁엔 라떼, 홀리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 홀리. 달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타.
ASL is back, and the best of 5. I suck today. The best of 5 with JyJ and Bisu continues on. JyJ in the lead. Can Bisu pull it back? I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, it's his map choice next. We're going to be going to Revolver, which is definitely considered a good map for Protoss versus Terran. We'll see how he wants to approach it. But, it is a 4-player map, and JyJ has shown that his macro game just seems to be a step above Bisu's.
Yeah, well, Bisu also, there's periods where he gets into good games, but it does seem like if the game goes on long enough, JyJ is better at late game, at least tonight. I mean, Bisu really isn't doing much with these Arbiters. In longer games, he wasn't doing much with Storm in Game 1. Bisu, when he's kind of in control and boxing the Terran around, he looked much better. Revolver, again, this is a different map. Carriers have been popular here. Nexus First has been popular. Let's see what Bisu's got, man.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if it's something like a Nexus First. It's just very hard for Terran to deal with on the map. But yeah, JyJ, he might have some sort of teched out build here, but honestly, at this point, I think if he just plays a solid macro game, that might be his best chance.
전투 준비 완료.
All right, well, that game's ready to go, guys. Revolver it is. Game 4, JyJ versus Bisu. Let's do this.
리볼버 SE에서 게임을 시작합니다.
So in the top left, we have JyJ. Top right, we have Bisu. So, you know, I think these spawns are the best for Terran that you can get on the map, is horizontal spawns, just because you have that kind of funny area in the middle. You could push a Nexus first through there. You could try to hit some sort of timing push through there. You know, pushing up the little ramps is very difficult. So that more kind of wide open area in horizontal spawns can be utilized. So I'm just throwing that out there that might actually be really good for JyJ in this game, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, you make a good point. You have like 2 lanes you can push through there with that. So let's see what's going to come here. I guess Protoss always wants to scout then. Like, let's say that you start in the top right, like Bisu. You want to try to scout counterclockwise, right?
Well, I mean, I think each Protoss has their own way that they like to do it, honestly. And different maps could be a little bit different. Like, I could see this map, you changing it up, but I think it's actually true statistically that Protoss normally scout vertically first.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I have no idea why that is. TT1 told me that years ago, and I just have kept track. And it's like they do scout vertical a little bit more than horizontal, and I don't know why, Tasteless.
Well, I guess if you think about
what it is.
I mean, I was going to say, if you're going to gas steal, vertical scouts are better, especially if it's top to bottom, because
oh yeah, you
get the gas quicker. I mean, if I'm going to pylon on 9 scout, you have to scout like vertical.
Okay.
Or basically, like, let's say you spawn in the bottom left, I would scout the bottom right, just because that way I could get to that geyser quicker, because all geysers start at the top. But I don't know if that's why. Oh, by the way, Nexus, gate into Nexus here from Bisu.
Okay. Yeah. A popular build. And JyJ is going for a factory. So, okay, he's scouting bottom left first. We'll see if he end scouts or he goes around the map. And if he goes around the map, does he go third depot or not? These are kind of the important things to see if we could have a Nexus bust or not. And look at the speed of this factory. Look at this. This is like a 227 or 228 factory, so very, very fast. JyJ absolutely nailing his build. And this is kind of the moment of truth for JyJ's build. Is it the end scout? We're going to see here just momentarily.
No, it's not.
Oh, I think it is, actually.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry.
All right, so he's going to find Bisu in plenty of time to decide at that point if he wants to bust the Nexus. And I think in this position, I don't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah, it seems like
I think it's very bustable.
It seems like gate Nexus gas, this is extremely bustable, right? I mean, the Dragoons are delayed. Maybe with a really good probe drill, you could do something. By the way, the Zealot's going to come up. Now, honestly, having a Zealot here is kind of interesting because this Zealot can just start to fight whatever's here in the main. Oh, but the Vulture's coming here. I'm not so sure, man.
Yeah, you got to run the Zealot away when you see the Vulture being made because it'll just get gunned down. But here we go. The SCV's being pulled. And he should be going through the right. Yeah, that was a drill onto the gas at the third. So really well done with those Marines to spot that. And I love it. Like, that was actually beautiful. I'm going to steal that right there. Like, he sent the Marines so he could drill the SCVs in the right direction because he wants to come in from the high ground. If you try to go up that little tiny ramp, that is not something that works well. So this SCV coming down, seeing what's what, and here we go. This should be a bust.
Yeah, and there's really...
you can't hold this. No way.
There's no way, I don't think. He makes a battery.
No
the pylon is sticking out here, though, so it's like the pylon could be killed, before the battery could be of use. He does have something in the main, so he can probe drill.
Ooh! Hey, he actually did fantastically getting that one Vulture. And the battery's almost done, but... yeah, it looks like JyJ has enough here to batter these probes back quite well, but you know what? He might get the bunker. The battery keeps that Dragoon alive. A lot of probes are dying right now. Oh my god, this is a crazy... What am I even looking at? Bisu might have the most miraculous hold ever.
Dude, he's not going to get in there. That's going to burn down. Oh my god!
Was an incredibly impressive.
I feel like
I don't.
Oh, dude, probing the ramp too.
Yeah, Okay, that was very impressive, and that all came down to him getting the Zealot onto the Vulture. The SCV wall had a little tiny hole in it, and he got through, killed off the Vulture, and that's like a huge amount of your damage just leaving. So excellent hold from Bisu. The shield battery actually clutched that out as well. The pro blocking, wow. And of course, I mean, if you fail at that, you have to leave the game. That was a smart leave for JyJ.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't kill the Nexus, and he kept so many probes alive. Also, keep in mind, like, if it's just the Vulture and the 3 Marines attacking 1 Dragoon with a battery, it takes a long time for those units to kill the Dragoon. The battery recharges it immediately. Dragoon doesn't attack fast, but it doesn't die fast either. Okay, let's take a look at this. That was wild. So let's watch. There's one Zealot at the top. There's one just at the bottom.
Yeah, I want to see exactly how he got that Zealot in, because, look, you can see JyJ, he's trying to reposition these SCVs. You have to block the Zealots from coming in. This is how you bust the Nexus. So, look, he's pulling back here. The probes are coming out, and there you go. A hole at the top. The Zealot gets in, and
the probe gets
down
behind.
goes the Vulture immediately.
Yeah, and also he keeps the probes back for the start of that fight, which is interesting. And then the battery's done, and I guess what he does is he just shift-clicks the SCVs with the probes to kill the SCVs.
Yeah, I think there was a slight mistake there where he was targeting the Dragoon, and like you said, it's really hard with the shield battery to actually kill it. I think he should have killed probes there. If he had targeted probes instead of the Dragoon, there was still potential there to wreck the natural. Because the probes are going to die so quickly, you can't really heal them. Whereas the Dragoon is just tanking.
One other thing is, after he used that drill with the workers, I think he sent the probe down to block the ramp so that another Vulture or anything else couldn't come in there. I'm not so sure. Guys, we're going to go to the final game, man. Game 5 on Metaverse is coming up. Let's hope it's a longer one than that last one. Who's going to move on, JyJ or Bisu? We're going to find out soon.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어너더 레벨 핫6. 어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어너더 레벨 핫6.
아침은 라떼 홀리 점심은 라떼 홀리 저녁엔 라떼 홀리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 홀리 달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타 라떼 홀리.
The final game with JyJ and Bisu. It's going to happen right now, guys. I don't know who takes this. We've had such a range of different games. We've had, explosive rushes like the last game. We've had, like the game before the last game where the entire map was taken. It was epic. It was long. We're going to Metaverse for the final map. This is a map that has a lot of complexity to it. There are locations you can take that are island-ish. It's a semi-island map. I don't know what to expect. What about you, Artosis?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think Bisu might try to be tricky here, right? Like, we've definitely seen the proxy robo plays and things like that. I'm not sure what he thinks his best chance is here, because it still does feel like if the game goes long, JyJ is in good shape, but Bisu can make a big difference in that early game.
It's true. So much pressure on the line. The winner is going on to the Final Four. Light awaits the victor here now. We're here God, we're actually going into it, Artosis. Let's go, guys. The final match. JyJ Bisu. Game 5 is here. Let's do this.
Tell them the story, tell them the truth as it pleases to me. Let it sink in for you.
메타버스에서 게임을 시작합니다.
So in the top right, we have JyJ. And in the bottom left, we have Bisu. So pretty far away from each other with those cross spawns. I'm very excited to see what Bisu has planned. I think JyJ, it's going to be pretty straightforward.
Right.
But for Bisu, you never know. I just saw him hotkey as natural. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but Nexus first maybe again?
Could be. I know we have seen Protosses hide the Robo in the islandish area. In this case, like for Terran, it would be the top center. We've seen Robo sit in there. I don't know. I feel like that's a bit of a hamburglar play. I think it's a little bit too sneaky. I think you got to be a bit of a Scooby-Doo villain to try that in an ASL against JyJ.
Yeah, maybe.
So, I don't know, man. I mean, cross spawn's also on this map. We've casted a couple games where they're sharing sides, which usually means always means they're sharing that kind of semi-island location. And so there's been some play around that, but these are extremely far spawns from each other.
Yeah. And on Bisu's side, I mean, this... You think it's Nexus first? I think it is.
I mean,
yeah, that's a Nexus first, man.
Yeah. And so he's going to do basically what worked on Eclipse, but without the gas steal. And they are actually a little bit different. I mean, gas steal, you're very much in control of the tempo. This is probably going to be Nexus first into 2-gate. It could be 1-gate. We'll see. You know, Nexus first doesn't mean that, you know, it's all set out for what you make after that. There's a lot of different Nexus first builds. I think this is going to be fleshed out over the next 2 or 3 years as well, as we're going to see Nexus first really get kind of unpacked in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it's definitely still evolving at the moment. But I wonder what the follow-up will be, right? Because this is a great map in a lot of ways for carriers. Obviously, it's a great map for shuttles in general because those back areas, a lot of dead space. And I wonder if that's how he's going to go, because cross-spawn Nexus first, and he's cross-scouting, so he's going to see him first.
Yeah.
Like, you can get very greedy when you see that your opponent is in this cross-spawn. Look, he has a probe waiting to see if he wants to make a gate, and he moves the probe back the second he finds him. So this is what I like to see. This is a very well planned out build. The probe was sitting right next to the first gate ready, and as soon as he sees that, he's like, nope, let's go ahead and just tech immediately because this is too far for a punish. So Bisu, I think, has the better build here without any doubt.
Absolutely. And 1-gate, the difference between the two is huge. I mean, you're going to tech up. You're never stopping probes. Keep in mind that Terran hasn't found the Nexus first build yet. And, you know, to the casual observer, this I do want to put a little bit of emphasis here because this can look like it's any other StarCraft build. You know, Nexus first, especially if you don't play that much Brood War, it might look like a Zerg expanding or a Terran expanding, and you think, what's the big deal? This is an extremely powerful way to catapult ahead in PvT. I mean, you get a lot of probes out very quickly. This was a late build to show up in the meta. It was considered cheese for a long time, and then people started to realize, like, oh, you can kind of, like, hold off attacks with this, too. This is kind of crazy.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, it's just so powerful economically. Look at this. A Vulture's coming across the map. A couple Marines as well, just kind of spreading out. I'm not sure what the Marines want to do out there. You know, maybe just looking around to see if there's any shenanigans going on. That probe will end up dying. I mean, this is all pretty standard, honestly. When someone goes Nexus first cross spawn, you always send a Vulture before add-on to try to kill a probe or two.
Right.
And Bisu just retreats immediately.
Yeah.
You can't really chase that, so may as well just get out.
Looks like he's going to try to kill off that SCV here. And, you know, it's tempting to run in with the Vulture, but 2 Dragoons kill off a Vulture quite quickly here. So Terran goes for the Armory. Protoss goes for the Robo. And, you know, this could be a very long game. We don't know if it's going to be Reaver or not yet. But, you know, cross spawns like this, I feel like the Protoss can grow very quickly. We did see, and I always want to bring this up when we have games like this, we did see Mini try to abuse Nexus first cross spawns. He tried to go obs straight into carrier. I don't know if Bisu's going to do that. I almost feel like he won't because that's not, I think, a Bisu-ish way to play. But, who am I to say how he's going to do it? Let's see as the game pans out. But I do think it's quite strong. Cross spawns.
Oh, yeah. I think you're definitely right. It is very, very strong. I think, it's the best math play that there is in StarCraft 1 right now, where you just look at it and it's like, oh, that's very hard to play against.
Right.
Because the Protoss just gets so much power because they do have all those extra probes. Their economy is just boosted ahead of yours. It's so hard to get across and do anything, and to even get that intel is very difficult. So, yeah, we'll see in a minute. He does put a pylon in the bottom right of his base, but we see that from him all the time. And now we just kind of wait and, is he going to go for that tech or just a regular macro game of some sort?
We're waiting to see, right? It's going to be one or the other. I think he's going for carriers because I think I see air weapons being made. Unless it's a late range that's about to finish.
Oh, I think it is late range, actually, but maybe not. Notice he did a full wall here. He's got his Dragoons spread around waiting for a drop, and there it is. Yeah, so Nexus first, cross spawn, 1 gate, 2 base carrier. This is a Terran nightmare. It is, truly, it's so difficult to play against. To find some sort of attack timing here is incredibly difficult. Let's see what JyJ does. He did get his academy pretty quickly.
Ridiculous.
So he's going to have scans soon. I know. Is this not the silliest thing you've ever seen? My God.
So many times that thing miss.
Yeah, that was a lot of misses.
That was
okay,
wild.
So he scans and sees the Stargate, Tasteless. How do you want to play from here? Hidden Starport. I think this is for drop.
Yeah.
You can't really go Wraith here. Oh, God. Okay, Science Facility hidden as well. So he is going to be going for 2-1, which makes sense. He's not really going to have an attack timing before then, it seems like.
Yeah, hiding the Science Facility makes it look like the push is going to come sooner, which might cause the Protoss to, dial it back a little bit, when actually you're not going to be doing much for a little bit here.
But what if that Observer just scouts the bottom right here for some reason, Tasteless? What if it just flies down here and finds all the tech?
Well, it's going to see it. Look, here's the thing, man. If you go, and this is for all the Terrans out there, all the Terran scumbags watching this, Protoss is going to look for a hidden command center because that's usually how you lose the game, is Terran hides command centers. So if you're going to hide something, it can't be where bases are. Because that's the scout. He's not wondering, do you have a science facility here? He's walking around the map saying, is there a command center that I need to kill before I win this game?
Okay. I feel like there's a little bit of Protoss projection there, but okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take note of that. Well, that's what you would do, Tasteless, but I never hide command centers. But look, here comes the drop. Obviously, he knows that Bisu knows, so you're not really expecting very much. Look at this. Bisu actually moves a couple Dragoons over here, so that's kind of nice. Out goes the dropship. This is a very tough position for JyJ. Oh,
yeah,
man.
This is a rough one, man. The late third base is looking good. The Citadel comes down. And so let's talk carriers for a second here. Carriers, when microed well against small numbers of units, are very powerful. Because you can basically kite units attacking you. You can leash the Goliaths and then go to areas they can't reach you at. And once you get to 4, that's when it's a problem. 2 really can't do very much. 4 are deadly, 6 are insane, and 8 are almost unstoppable. Now, Terran can sit on 2 bases and maybe eventually get enough Goliaths to kill all the interceptors, but that's why the Protoss is making a ground army here, is that it's the combination of the air and the ground that Protoss wants to throw the Terran off on. Let's say that, the carriers and the Dragoons and Zealots can kill just the Goliaths, well, then the carriers win. But let's say that the carriers can just stay at a distance and snipe the tanks. Then the Dragoons and Zealots alone win that, and the carriers can help out a little bit there. So, it's tough.
Yeah. For Terran here, you're looking to hit like a critical mass that can actually fight. He is still flying around with this dropship. Honestly, it might... I think the best chance for JyJ here is not pushing right now, but maybe he should like hit 2-1 and get very close to max. I'm talking at least 170 supply. That's the area where like around 170 with 2-1 you can kind of kill a Protoss max, like while attacking. So this feels like just slightly early from JyJ. I'm a little bit nervous about how quickly he's going across the map.
I almost feel like JyJ is a little bit nervous, period. I mean, he's really trying to go for this. And the problem for the Terran trying to do this is this is such a long terrain to travel around. And there's the possibility that Protoss will try to run behind you. He's going to wait until the Terran is pretty much sieged up and committed. Oh, actually, dude, I don't think there's enough for Terran. I mean, even without
you really
the
have to hit that critical
push.
mass. Yeah, no, like 140, 150 supply is good defensively, but not really offensively, and you kind of see that here. These Protoss gateway units can be replenished pretty easily, whereas the siege tanks absolutely cannot. So, yeah, not super digging this, but he has a lot of ranged Goliaths. He's trying to pick off a carrier. He's dealing some damage to all of them. Some pot shots definitely going down from these Zealots. Oh god, he is diving as hard as you can dive. He's going to the bottom of the ocean right now, but I don't know if he's going to find any fish.
Yeah, he kept that one carrier alive, and like, I think even with 3 carriers he's okay, but like, Bisu's probably not killable now.
Yeah.
You know,
and to remake that army for Terran is so much harder than it is for Protoss.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that's the whole build-up, right, is to get that out. And again, it's not just what you see here. There's 2 more carriers about to pop out. +1 air weapons should be done, +2 should be coming now. And, you know, the Protoss gets a lot of counterplay in this moment. And the final tech, really, that Protoss wants to get, and I don't know if we're quite there yet, but we'll see it because Bisu will know the timing better than I will, is to get the Templar Archives. Because, you know, Terran scans a lot when they do this. And as you can see, they don't have a vessel. I mean, if you were to make a vessel, the carriers would just shoot it down, you know, quicker than anything. So DTs become very strong.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Like, DTs are a great add once you have carriers in. Psystorm as well, of course. That's kind of like the final piece of the puzzle, is having Psystorm with your army. Bisu getting out on the map pretty actively, removing a bunch of these mines. And look, he's up a lot of supply. He's up like 40 supply right now. JyJ running around with these vultures. I like that he's trying to stay active. He is getting his 3rd base that does have a gas there as well, which is important. But, God, like, how long is it going to take till he has the same quality army he had before?
Well, that's the problem with losing the tanks, is that it's hard to ever get right back in there. You know, the thing with the carriers is that if you're not losing them, they're getting better and better, which means more interceptors. Dragoons and Zealots are very easy to make, and normally, you know, if there were no carriers in this game, the Terran would just have vultures and tanks, and the Dragoons and Zealots would be much weaker. But because Goliaths are made, you can basically engage in these ground fights, and it's much tougher, especially on the tanks, because the tanks want to target down the Dragoons, but I mean, how much APM does one person really have that can actually be used in a fight like this, right? So he wants to use the Goliaths to try to target down the carriers. The carriers have already targeted down some of the tanks. And as you can see now, it's like, this is enough, dude. He's going to push in here. I think this game's almost over.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way. JyJ with a critical mistake, attacking a bit too early there. I think you're right. Maybe he got nervous. He knew he was in a bad position, but the one thing we can say for certain is that attack that he did early on cost him this game. But it's a tough game no matter what. GG, and that is it. Bisu on to the round of 4, his first ASL back.
So cool, man. props to Bisu. He did it. How far is he going to go? He's going to be going up against Light, right?
Yes, yes. And Light has a lot to study here. And look, JyJ is great. I love JyJ. But Light doesn't make the same mistakes we saw from JyJ. Light's been a pro gamer as long as Bisu, man.
I can't believe we're going to have a match like this coming up. This is going to be amazing, dude. And whoever wins that could very well win the whole tournament, man. It's like the best Terran against the best Protoss. Are you kidding me?
I know. It's really quite amazing. And it's awesome to see Bisu in such good shape as well. I think he did play a good series overall. You can see his standard macro play, maybe a little bit behind, but still pulls it out, and that's what matters.
Well, Bisu's done it, man, but it wasn't easy. And JyJ, dude, this guy's so good. I think he played very well against that, but he just attacked too soon. Like Tastosis said, like, this is too early, man. The ground army from Protoss is already pretty good. See the wave in the mini-map that's coming? That needs to meet up with this.
This is just, it doesn't make sense. This isn't a timing for anything ever. Ever. Like, 150 supply attack moving out while you're getting 2-1 is like, look, he's got 1-1 right now. It's just, it's not how you play. You have to hit that critical mass. That's the weakness of carriers, is you've given up all, like, spell casting and stuff, so, you know, if Terran just waits a little bit longer, you can sometimes clean up their entire army with your near-max push.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's just, look, this one carrier gets away. This is brutal.
Has one hit left on it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, that's 8 more interceptors. That's not why he lost. I mean, he lost because he attacked too soon. You need to have everything together. Well, it's time for that winner's interview, man. Bisu has won today. We're still not done with this phase of the tournament, guys. Sulky and Rain is coming up. It was supposed to be the start of the tournament. It's going to be at the end.
시즌 13 세 번째 4강 진출자가 탄생했습니다. 풀세트 접전 끝에 4강에 오른 김태경 선수와 함께하겠습니다. 축하드립니다. 고생 많으셨습니다.
네, 감사합니다.
1614일 만에 4강 진출을 다시 한번 이뤄내셨습니다. 16강도 마지막으로 진출했고 또 8강 경기 역시 쉽지는 않았어요. 그럼에도 불구하고 이렇게 정말 오래간만에 시드를 확보한 기분은 굉장히 남다르실 것 같습니다. 소감을 먼저 여쭤보고 싶네요.
저도 좀 꿈만 같아요. 일단 시드를 확보한 게 좀 믿기지 않거든요, 지금. 그리고 전역하고 나서 제가 항상 좀 8강이나 16강, 23강에서 떨어져가지고 이번에도 뭔가 좀 안 풀리지 않을까. 또 제가 좀 게임을 좀 안 했었거든요. 그래가지고 좀 안 풀리지 않을까 했는데 뭔가 좀 이번 시즌 하면서 실력에 비해서 좀 운이 많이 따르는 것 같아요. 뭐 빌드나 그런 자리운이나 그런 상황 같은 게 너무 잘 따라줘가지고 저도 좀 신기할 따름이에요.
오늘 정영재 선수와의 8강 경기 계속 승패를 주고받으면서 아마 정신적으로도 조금은 힘들지 않았을까 하는 생각이 드는데요. 몇 번째 세트가 끝나고 나서 가장 좀 심적으로 좀 단단히 부여잡아야겠다라는 생각을 하셨을까요?
일단 질 때마다 좀 멘탈이 좀 흔들렸어요. 첫 경기 같은 경우는 좀 준비한 게 있었는데 좀 다른 거라면서 제가 좀 흐트러졌고, 세 번째 모노폴리 같은 경우는 제가 진짜 좀 전투나 이런 뭔가 상황 같은 게 그래도 괜찮았다고 생각했는데 영재가 너무 잘 맞고 그 위에 운영을 너무 잘하더라고요. 그래서 오늘 이렇게 끝나나 좀 생각을 했죠.
아무래도 모노폴리가 가장 좀 아쉬운 마음이 많이 드실 것 같아요. 이 세시쪽 길목에서 탱크를 다소 얼리는 모습은 굉장히 좋았고 잘 교전도 하셨는데 한시적으로 미처 병력을 다 정리하지 못하고 올라가는 판단을 하시면서부터 약간 김태경 선수의 뜻대로 풀려가지 않았던 것 같거든요.
네, 근데 제가 리플레이를 봤는데 한 번도 유리한 적이 없더라고요. 그래서 나만 좀 힘들었나 이런 생각이 들었고, 그 경기는 그냥 저 있었으니까 있고 네 번째 경기 리볼버부터 좀 열심히 하자 이런 생각을 했죠.
확실히 다전제의 경험이 많았던 김태경 선수이기 때문에 정영재 선수가 준비해온 노림수가 뜻대로 통하지 않게끔 만들었던 김태경 선수였습니다. 또 네 번째 세트 리볼버 정영재 선수의 치즈를 정말 절묘하게 배터리와 프로브로 막아내셨어요.
위쪽에 제가 가스통 찍을 줄은 생각을 못 해가지고 치즈러시가 안 오는 줄 알았어요. 그래서 좀 당황하면서 막았는데 이게 은근히 막아보니까 이빌드가 좀 막을만 하더라고요. 치즈러시를. 그래서 그래도 좀 집중해가지고 잘 막아보자. 배터리 짓고 그다음 프로브랑 좀 잘 비비면 막지 않을까 그런 생각을 했는데 좀 잘 막히더라고요.
결국에 승부처가 됐던 5번째 세트에서 노게이트 더블을 선택하시고 대각이 나는 또 원서치까지 정찰을 성공을 하셨어요. 그때야 좀 마음이 놓이셨을 것 같은데 그때 좀 어떠셨나요?
일단 대각선 걸리는 순간 신은 나의 편이구나 이런 생각을 했고 제 4번째 경기를 하고 나서 영재가 그래도 좀 치즈러시가 좀 안 좋더라고요. 그래서 5번째 때 더블렉을 한 그런 느낌도 있어요.
또 한 번의 테란 다전제가 4강에서 김태경 선수를 기다리고 있습니다. 이재호 선수와의 테란전은 정영재 선수와 또 다른 느낌이 들 것 같은데 4강 자신 있으신가요?
다른 스타일로 뭔가 재호가 잘해가지고 정말 쉽지 않을 것 같고 솔직히 오늘 경기력 좀 만족스럽지 못해요. 제가 뭔가 좀 중후반 가면 뭔가 못해가지고 이대로 가면 지지 않을까라는 생각이 들고요. 남은 기간 동안 진짜 테란전만 해가지고 제호 무조건 꺾을 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
또 오랜만에 이렇게 거의 5년여 만에 4강에 진출한 김태경 선수의 모습 얼마나 많은 팬분들이 보고 싶으셨을까요? 팬분들께도 한 말씀 해주시면 좋을 것 같아요.
일단 뭐 응원해주신 분들 너무 감사드리고 뭔가 좀 뜻대로 경기력은 좀 안 풀리는데 어떻게 또 4강까지 올라와가지고 저도 좀 신기한데 4강까지 올라온 만큼 제가 또 ASL 반트 때 말고는 결승에 올라간 적이 없거든요. 진짜 한 고비만 넘기면 결승이니까 많이 응원해 주셨으면 좋겠고 또 연습 진짜 잘 도와준 우리 영진이랑 지성이 너무 고맙고요. 응원해 주신 분 너무 감사드립니다. 네, 고맙습니다.
네, 다시 한번 4강 진출 축하드립니다. 김태경 선수의 저력 4강에서도 기대하겠습니다.
네, 감사합니다.
자, 이렇게 3번째 4강 진출자 프로토스 김태경 선수와 함께했습니다.
And there you have it. Bisu ends up taking down JyJ 3-2. It was a cool series. There was a lot of variety here. And he does move up to play against Light in the round of 4. Of course, we have one more match in the round of 8. It's going to be Rain against Sulky. Both of them did end up coming down with coronavirus, but that is scheduled, as you can see here, for the 29th Tuesday. So hopefully we'll have the whole round of 4 set for you next week.
Yeah, and once we get that all sorted out, I think we're going to be back on a schedule. It does look like the second... Well, we're going to have this match next, but then it looks like we're going to have Bisu Light before Rain Sulky, I think.
Yeah.
If I saw the schedule correctly. But
I think they play the next day after this round of 8 match, so we're going to know one finalist, and then we'll get into the other side as well.
We're doing esports, man, even when Korea is literally one of the #1 countries with COVID cases right now. So bear with us, guys. We appreciate it. And this is going to be a fun one, man. Sulky, Rain. I mean, I don't know who moves on. Who do you think, Artosis?
I got to go with Sulky, I think, Tastosis.
Yeah?
Like, Rain is looking ridiculously good, but, I mean, as long as Sulky's not playing a Zerg player, I'm betting on him.
I don't know, man. I feel like Rain is so strong. He's got a style that is just so smart, and he's really good at just taking Zergs out before the game really picks up at all. Amazing pushes as well. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm glad they're both better, and I look forward to doing that recording with you, Artosis.
Yeah, going to be great. And speaking of which, guys, you're great. Thank you so much for supporting us on the Patreon. That's patreon.com/ASL English.
Yeah, guys, we really appreciate it. If you've got $5 extra and you want to just send that to us and the crew here for ASL who are helping us produce this show, it is appreciated. And we will see you guys for that final match with Rain versus Sulky. We'll get that recorded as soon as possible and put out. We love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.